Hi, I'm Futurist Thomas Frey. When's the last time you made a prediction that people paid attention to? Like many things in life, there are a number of methods and techniques that can be used, but the thought processes involved in making predictions is not always as straightforward as you might imagine, and to be sure, creating a viral one includes a huge degree of luck. For this reason, I'd like to step you through my latest thinking in this area to give you some ideas and some insights into this mystical science. In 2018, e-commerce finally reached the 10% mark. It has taken e-commerce a full 25 years to build enough momentum for 10% of retail customers in the US to make a transition to online sales. This is a very important data point because it speaks to the heart of our human ability to adapt to new ways of doing business. Granted, it's only a data set of one, but it opens the door for talented observers to speculate on the 25-year rule of human behavior that has the potential to better refine our understanding of changes at hand. Does this mean that it'll take 25 years for 10% of all travel to transition to autonomous vehicles? Perhaps, but let's dive a little deeper into this topic. One of the key features of a viral prediction is its surprise factor. So if I predict that by 2040, only 10% of all cars on the road will be driverless, this would indeed surprise many of the autonomous transportation enthusiasts because it would be far lower than they're expecting. With driverless cars having a rather blurry beginning, 2040 fits closely with the auspicious 25-year rule. Also, 2040 ends up being a milestone date that's easily remembered. However, 10% of cars on the road is far different than total commuter traffic. Doing a hardware prediction about total vehicles on the road is quite different than predicting commuter miles and trips. By adding a second half to the prediction, we can spice it up a little bit and make it far more intriguing. So if I make the prediction by 2040, only 10% of the cars on the road will be driverless, but at the same time, 10% of all cars will handle 90% of all passenger miles. This kind of prediction has what I call a double surprise factor, and it brings with it a level of complexity that begs for far more detail and discussion. Many people have a strong loyalty to their cars and will have a hard time making the transition to go carless. For this reason, it can be argued that the vast majority of cars will have transitioned into a category of hobbyist vehicles that are only driven once a month or even less. Today's just-in-case mindset, having a car in a garage just in case we need to go somewhere, will be replaced with just in an extreme case attitude that will keep a car in our garage in case the national system breaks down or they need to sneak away for old-fashioned driving the country or we get attacked by aliens or whatever. Whatever the reason, many people will have a hard time parting with their first love. Throughout the prediction and the surrounding discussion, each of the elements in its supporting data needs to maintain an overarching ring of truth. While it may insult your intelligence initially, after thinking about it, you mentally say, okay, that makes sense, or I'll need to think about that, or at least it gets a qualified maybe. So a follow-on prediction is one that's derived from the first one. This prediction will naturally lead to a number of follow-on predictions. By 2040, as driverless cars handle 90% of all commuter miles, they will reduce the number of accidents and injuries to less than 10% of what they are today. By 2040, individual car sales will plummet to less than 10% of what they are today. By 2040, over 90% of dealerships will have gone out of business. Over 90% of car loans will have disappeared, and over 90% of privately owned cars will have switched to hobbyist-level insurance. Each of these follow-on predictions becomes a logical extension of the original, but they also demand the same level of scrutiny given to the original forecast. Predictions are an imperfect art form. On one hand, they force a listener to think about an event in the future that they may or may not have ever considered otherwise. It also forces them to draw their own conclusion. Yet, virtually every prediction will be wrong at some level. It may be that the wrong time frame or too broadly defined circumstances or different age group or completely different data sets. But even if every aspect of a prediction is done perfectly, when it finally happens, it somehow feels different. For these and a number of other reasons, predictions have become a lightning rod for objection and criticism. That comes with the territory. I should note that if you receive no criticism, the prediction hasn't stirred up enough emotion and can't possibly go viral. I always consider the best objections to be the ones that come from highly articulate people that raise issues that I haven't considered and build an entire discussion thread around their key arguments. Over the past decade, I've made a number of predictions that have gone viral and in some respects have become a modern-day meme. I have also written several columns that have gone viral and created many viral social media posts that have lit up the likes of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. That said, here are 5 predictions that have gone sufficiently viral to cause them to spread around the world. The first one, by 2030, the largest company on the internet will be an education-based company that we haven't heard of yet. I made this prediction in 2014, but it went viral after an interview with Business Insider early in 2016 and later became the focus of a World Economic Forum video that went viral on Facebook and YouTube. Prediction number 2. Cryptocurrency is very much here to stay and is going to displace 25% of national currencies by 2030. This is a prediction I made during a 2018 interview with Times Money magazine. It first captured the imagination of people inside the crypto world, but quickly spread to hundreds of other publications. Prediction number 3. By 2030, over 2 billion jobs will disappear. I made this prediction at a TEDx Reset conference in 2012 in Istanbul and have been quoted on this in newspapers, magazines, and TV stations literally all over the world ever since. Prediction number 4. We will reach the first billion drones in the world by 2030. I originally made the prediction in 2014, but it went viral after my talk at the World Drones Congress in Brisbane, Australia in 2017, when several Australian publications mentioned it. Prediction number 5. The reunification of North and South Korea will happen by 2020. This came about because of an interview I did in 2013 with Korea's Chosun newspaper, one of the most influential Korean language daily newspapers in South Korea. Later, it became part of a 1-hour show on KBS where I was the featured guest. Now, after the meeting of the presidents in Singapore and the removal of landmines along the DMZ, this has gone viral once again in Korea, and many feel it may indeed be possible. Some feel the progress has already been made enough to call it a win, but I'm still hoping for a more German-like reunification. As you will note, there are several common elements that will increase the likelihood of a prediction going viral. First, it needs to be a relevant hot topic. Jobs, drones, and cryptocurrencies are all timely, newsworthy, and meaningful to the masses. You need a memorable date. 2030 is far more memorable than 2028. Third, it needs to be a quantifiable event. Words like more or decreasing do not have the same effect as 2 billion or 25%. Number 4, it needs to have a ring of truth. Yes, the ring of truth is quite different than actual truth, but in our minds it somehow passes unscathed through the various skeptic filters we have in place. It needs to have a surprise factor. It's always hard to describe things that people will find surprising or unexpected, but it's a critically important component of a viral prediction. And you need legitimizing forces. Some people have their own huge social media followings, but it's far better to have an unbiased third-party media person voice your prediction. Since most aspects of our lives are filled to some degree with luck, we also shouldn't underestimate the sheer value of saying the right thing at the right time in the right place. The future is constantly being formed in the minds of people around us. Each person's understanding of what the future holds will influence the decisions they make today. As we alter somebody's vision of the future, we alter the way they make decisions today. My goal has always been to help people and organizations make better, more informed decisions about the future. If I make the prediction that by 2030, over 90% of all crimes will be solved through AI, data collection, and other forms of surveillance, a forecast like this will cause several things to happen. First, you have to decide if you agree that a certain percentage of crimes will be solved that way. If so, it forces you to think about how fast the surveillance industry is growing. how invasive this might be, and whether privacy concerns might start to shift current trends in a different direction. More importantly, it forces you to consider the bigger picture and whether this is a desirable future. If it reaches 90%, how many police, judges, and lawyers will be out of a job? Will this create a fairer justice system, a safer society, or a far scarier place to live? Are you changing as fast as the world is? Change is inevitable, but how you deal with change can vary greatly. In a world that never stops changing, great leaders can never stop learning. How do you push yourself as an individual to keep growing and evolving? Does your company push you in the same manner? The future as a whole is unknowable, and this is a good thing. Our involvement in the future of life is based on our notion that we, as individuals, can make a difference. If we somehow remove the mystery of what happens as a result of our actions, we also dismantle our individual drives and motivation for moving forward. That said, the future can be forecast in degrees of probability. By improving our understanding of the future, we dramatically improve the probability with which we can predict the future. Futurists come with a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives. What we all have in common is well-researched big picture thinking, strong pattern recognition, and an innate curiosity. Ideas that are routine in one industry can be revolutionary when they migrate to another, especially when they challenge assumptions and rewrite common knowledge among the rank and file. Discoveries and predictions are closely related. French novelist Marcel Proust once said, "The real act of discovery consists in not of finding new lands, but in seeing with new eyes." The most successful companies don't just outcompete their rivals. They redefine the terms of competition by embracing one-of-a-kind ideas in a world heavily steeped in stealing old ideas rather than blazing new trails. Our ability to tap into and leverage the power of the future is directly tied to the number of times we think about it. The more we think about the future, the more we expand our understanding of it. And the more we understand the future, the easier it becomes for us to interact with it. Thank you for listening. I'm Futurist Thomas Frey, Senior Futurist at the Da Vinci Institute. Thank you very much.